When we hear the phrase data scientist, we picture screens, code, dashboards, and algorithms. We imagine someone analyzing spreadsheets, not someone sprinting down a field or standing at the crease or at the plate. But that picture is outdated. Because long before AI dashboards, before wearables, before sports labs and machine learning models, elite athletes were already practicing data science. They just didn't call it that. Every elite athlete learns to read their body like an instrument. They notice patterns most people ignore. The subtle difference between fatigue and sharpness. The timing of a movement that feels just slightly late. The sensation of force transferring cleanly or leaking away. This isn't guesswork. It's pattern recognition built through repetition, error, and feedback. And that is the foundation of data science. Athletes collect data constantly. Not in spreadsheets, but in sensation. Every training session generates information, how the body responds to load, how quickly it recovers, how performance changes under stress, and how confidence alters movement quality. Over time, athletes learn to label these signals. They test hypotheses. They postulate the following: if I sleep less, my timing is off. If I push today, tomorrow suffers. If I rush the moment, accuracy drops. That is experimentation. That is modeling. That is analysis. Technology didn't create this intelligence. It externalized it. Wearables now measure heart rate variability, muscle oxygenation, acceleration, joint angles, and fatigue markers. Computer vision tracks movement in 3 dimensions, frame by frame. AI models detect patterns no human eye could catch consistently. But here's the key point. The technology did not make athletes intelligent. It made their intelligence visible. There's a misconception that data makes sport colder, more mechanical. In reality, it makes athletes more embodied. When data reflects what an athlete already feels, trust increases. When data contradicts sensation, curiosity begins. The best athletes don't surrender intuition to numbers. They dialogue with them. The body speaks. The data listens. The athlete interprets. That loop is where performance evolves. This is why athletes remain central to decision-making, even in the most data-rich environments. An algorithm can detect fatigue, but only the athlete knows whether that fatigue is dangerous or manageable. A model can predict injury risk, but only the athlete feels the difference between vulnerability and readiness. AI can forecast. Athletes decide. And decision-making is not computation, it is responsibility. What's fascinating is that athletes often outperform machines in real-time judgment. But why? Because the body integrates context, emotion, environment, opponent behavior, confidence, fear, momentum. AI sees patterns in isolation. Athletes feel patterns in motion. That's why performance isn't automated, it's augmented. Which brings us to extended reality, which has accelerated the relationship even further. With XR systems, athletes can replay performance from within the movement, not just observe it from the outside. They can slow time, change perspective, rehearse decisions without physical strain. Neuroscience shows that mental rehearsal activates much of the same neural circuitry as physical execution. So when athletes train in XR, they're not pretending. They're rewiring anticipation. The body learns before the body moves. That's not virtual training. That's neurological efficiency. But with this power comes risk. When every movement becomes a data point, it's easy to forget the human behind the signal. 1. Who owns the data generated by an athlete's body? 2. Who controls how it's happened? 3. What happens when algorithms begin influencing selection, contracts, or career trajectories? These are not technical questions, they are ethical ones. The athlete as a data scientist must also be the athlete as a data steward. Performance data is not neutral. It carries identity, vulnerability, and consequence. If data enhances autonomy, it empowers. If it removes agency, it exploits. The future of sport depends on building systems where athletes remain participants in their own data story, not products of it. This is where the A4 philosophy matters. AI gives us analytics. Academia gives us understanding. Athletes give us embodiment. Altruism gives us restraint. Together, they ensure that data becomes wisdom, not surveillance. Because at its core, sport has never been about numbers. It has always been about meaning. 1. The heartbeat before competition. 2. The breath before action. 3. The belief that carries someone beyond perceived limits. Data can eliminate that journey, but it must never replace it. Athletes are not becoming data scientists. They always were. Technology is simply catching up to the intelligence that already lived inside the human body. AI may help us measure how we move, but only awareness teaches us why we move. And in that distinction lies the future of human performance. Until next time.